This is my XLL cart, a custom fabricated 7-foot tall steel structure to support my Prusa XL and Core 1L in MandicReally style. It features a battery backup, 3 zones of RGB, leveling casters, and front illumination to shine some light on the machines. And building it did not go the way I thought it was going to. Let's back it up though. Before we get into what went wrong and right with the project, we should probably talk about what it is we're doing. Our goal here is to make my studio sponsor, Prusa Print Farm, look more like it all belongs together. The Core 1s and the Mark 4s on this beautiful shelving unit that I custom built last year, they look great. But the Prusa XL sitting on this Harbor Freight tool cart and the Core 1L plopped onto a toolbox over to the other side, they just don't look like they belong with this whole setup. So I did what I do when I need to plan out a project. I jumped into Autodesk Fusion and designed out this rolling steel cart to house the machines. I found with the Harbor Freight cart and the Prusa XL that I really like being able to move it and access the back of the machine easily as it's not light. So we are continuing with the cart, but it's stylized and designed to match the main farm. A major benefit of fully designing like this in advance is that I was able to order my materials cut to length already from the steel supplier, so I don't have to worry about cutting each individual part, just a few pieces down the road. With every one of my videos, the goal first is of course to build something cool, but second is to reach a wider audience. That's the name of the game with my job. For this project, I wanted to do something different and use this Gwaiki laser welder that they loaned me. Now I've been welding for almost 30 years now with other processes, so I thought this would be fun, have Starship laser blaster jokes throughout the video and show how cool but also dangerous laser welding can be, and just a new technology is becoming way more accessible. Problem is, I've never laser welded before, and the manual and instructions that came with this thing are kind of terrible, and I wasn't able to get more than barely tacked together pieces. I just could not get this thing to melt a puddle, lay a weld. It was infuriating to say the least. Going through settings, changing things just to see what would happen, and not really finding any major difference. In the end, I had to call it. Walking away from the laser was a real sunk cost fallacy situation in my head. It was seconds in this video, but it was days in real life. Losing that time in this project just added to what's eating at me. For weeks before this project even began, I was beating myself up about how to grow this channel, how to grow my business, how to push my career forward. Because the last few videos I put out really underperformed, and that had me second guessing everything. It put me into a state of analysis paralysis. It doesn't help that I work alone. I don't have anybody to sound off to at a moment-to-moment basis. So I started leaning on an AI chatbot as a sounding board, somebody to talk to about these problems. Problem is, it's a faceless external robot that has 0 real-world stakes in the game, and it's probably just going to hand me answers that don't really mean anything. Whether it was project ideas, video angles, titles, thumbnails, I was outsourcing my own instincts because I stopped trusting them. The laser was supposed to be the unique twist for this video, an affordable laser beam that could make silly jokes about phasers and speed up the welding process for this project, get it done faster. Then I couldn't get a single weld bead laid. I was spiraling. I had to stop and ask myself, who am I? I'm Alan Mandic. I'm a fabricator, a builder, a maker. I've been working with my hands, welding, metalworking, wiring since I was a child. And here I am at 40 years old, second guessing my every move because some algorithm doesn't like my last thumbnail. So I did what I should have done from the start. I broke out the tried and true TIG welder, the machine that I can diagnose from the sound of the arc, the hiss of the gas, and the first blip of the weld bead laid down. I know this thing like I know my own hand, and I should have trusted that from the start. Once I did, I could build. The way this project has been going really highlights my lack of luck, so I need to build some insurance in for future projects. So in comes this APC UPS, a battery backup, 2000 VA rated, so it'll handle everything on this cart through minor power blips, power outages. Heck, I'll be able to unplug the cart, move it to a different location in the studio, and plug it back in and keep 3D prints running on these machines. The thing is, I said I designed this cart in Autodesk Fusion, every piece, so I know what sizes things needed to be cut at and all of the angles, except for this UPS. I just floated it underneath the cart, knowing that I was going to want all 80 pounds of its chunk hanging off the bottom of this to create some ballast so the entire cart is weighted a little lower center of gravity, but I didn't design the mounts for it. So I'm winging it. Some 1-inch angle iron will create some rails that this can slide in and out on. It just needs a cradle to hang underneath the cart. I don't expect to move this around often, so I'm not really even going to bother solidly mounting this thing, just letting gravity do its job. With the base built, the foundation is laid to build my way upward. My goal is to somewhat emulate my leaning bookshelf design of the main print farm. I can't exactly mirror that here though. So I landed on a bit of a middle ground where I have one swept back upright that then turns and heads straight up, so I have access to the sides of the Prusa XL for its side spool holders. A big benefit of designing in CAD is that I was able to then use my reference model to create some tools for this project, like these 3D printed angle marking gauges that I threw to one of my core ones for printing. Marking angles for cutting is not difficult, but these make it stupid simple. I slip them over the tube, find the right Sharpie that I want, and then I can mark out all the way around the tube in one go, not having to flip the tube around and mark different sides and make sure that they're each lined up. This is just one continuous piece that makes it easy. Well, I just realized I screwed up. I already said I had everything cut to length when I ordered it, but that wasn't true of the 2x2s that make up the uprights here, as I needed to make sure that the angles were cut at the right spots, so I ordered them a little extra long so I could cut them down to the size that I needed. I remembered that on one of them, and I forgot on the other one. So this one is 1 inch taller and longer than it needs to be, so it's all out of whack. I've got to cut this weld joint off, remove 1 inch from this, weld it back together, add it to the list of things that haven't gone well on this project. That problem addressed, the uprights are complete, and it's time to move on to the shelves. The Core 1L is going to sit basically on the base, so that's already taken care of. But the shelf that the XL is going to sit on is a cantilevered design, so I could get more visibility for both the Core 1L and the XL. As such, I decided to go with 1x2 1/8 inch steel tubing for the perimeter and a laid flat 1x2 for a middle support of the shelf. This is beefier than I would have needed if I supported it with some front legs on it or different gusseting, but that would have added to the structure and taken away from the overall design. Halo caps off the top of the entire cart. This is just for lighting on the Prusa XL and maybe later future spool holders or something, but for right now that's a future project. That means it's time to paint this thing. I set out to paint this the same as my main Prusa Print Farm with Krylon dark metal metallic paint. This stuff is nasty to work with. It oversprays really, really badly, makes a mess, and really doesn't go far. You don't get nearly as much coverage as you do with a regular spray paint. It looks pretty good, but I ran out halfway through. So a trip to Lowe's to pick up some more, where I quickly found they're out of stock. I would have had to drive all over the city to come up with more cans of this, so I just decided to paint it a regular old Rust-Oleum gray, which I probably should have done to begin with, and probably should have done on my main farm too. Seeing this thing take shape, with paint dry on it, and ready to get the decking of 3/4 MDF onto it, I'm starting to feel some relief, finally. The start of this project felt like I was just never going to get going. The frustration of the laser welder on top of my own personal things inside my head felt insurmountable at a point. I finally got going and then made a rookie mistake where instead of measuring twice, I cut twice. Finally getting to paint, only to be out of stock everywhere around me. This project has felt like it fought me the entire way. So seeing it come together and take shape, I'm finally starting to feel some relief here. So it's time to shine some light on the subject. This just wouldn't be a MandicReally project without a bunch of LEDs all over it. The white shelf lighting and RGB are going to run on a pair of low wattage power supplies tucked underneath the cart. I designed and printed a mounting bracket and a cover for the mains voltage wiring, both using Prusa's UL listed PETG V0 filament, because if you're going to 3D print anything that lives next to mains voltage, this is the filament you want. Those get mounted right next to the UPS, so they'll have a really short distance to where they plug in. A 24-volt PWM dimmer handles the brightness on the white LEDs without causing flickering in my filming. And for the RGB, I'm running my tried and true Yawl controller board. This board runs WLED, the open source LED control firmware that drives a huge chunk of the lighting in this studio, and it was made for me by Mandic Labs studio sponsor, PCBWay. If you've got a PCB you've been meaning to get manufactured, a one-off you need for a project, or you need CNC machining, laser cutting, or 3D printing services for your project or your business, there's a link in the description for quick, instant quotes. Check out PCBWay. Installing RGB and the white lights, there's going to be some cable management required. So I printed up some of these zip tie mounts I designed so that I can VHB tape and organize the cables. But I don't want to have cables sullying this thing everywhere. So I'm going to drill a handful of holes around the frame so I can pass some of the cables up through the frame structure to get them where they need to go without being out in the open. With the electronics on here, I should be installing the white LED strips that are going to light up the shelves, but I've realized I forgot to order the channels that I want to put them in so that they can be at an angle and shine across the shelf and not just down or back. So I'm going to 3D print some. Typically the aluminum channels are affordable enough and they do have a heat sinking effect that I like. It's going to work out just fine as I'm not going to run these things at full brightness, and being able to print them when I need them is really handy. With that, let there be light. There are, of course, two more cables that need to be managed. So I'm punching a hole into each of the shelves so that I can run the power cables for them down through. A TPU gasket will cap off the hole to clean it up and not chafe wires. And that wraps up the actual build of this cart, the wiring, the decking. It's just missing, well, a couple of 3D printers and a few modifications to those printers as they're going on here. First up is shining a little more light on the interior of the Core 1L. I updated my magnetic light bar mount for Core 1s to have an L version. This just adds additional white LEDs inside of there for a little brighter interior that I find useful for my filming purposes. With the machine on the cart, I can get to the back and hook up the 24-volt power, and you can see the before and after. It's not a big difference, but it makes a difference when I'm filming these machines regularly. Moving the XL is not for the faint of heart. This is definitely a team lift situation. I just happen to be a team of one. The top halo on the cart presents a bit of a problem for this machine. The enclosure lid wants to open up too far, so I'm installing a stopper bracket that moves the magnets for the lid so it only opens 90 degrees now and it'll fit on the cart properly. With those final touches done, I present to you the Finished XLL Cart. You might notice there's a fair bit more space around the L than there necessarily needs to be. This is twofold. One, because this shelf is actually sized well enough that I could just fit another XL on this cart and make it an XL cart. And two, to leave a little room for potential future changes that might be coming. You know, this project tested my resolve. From the bad headspace I was in the beginning of it, to laying down weld beads and starting to get out of my own way, now stepping back and looking at it. Printers on the shelves, the lighting how I wanted it, living in its new home. I'm feeling a sense of relief. All the noise from the past few weeks, it's quiet. Tomorrow, I can go back to worrying about the next video. Today's for basking in the glory of the project that turned out the way I had it envisioned in my head. Eventually. And personally, I'm just really happy with the way this has turned out. I always felt like the XL was an afterthought sitting next to the main farm. It was always in a shadowy spot that was hard to light. Now it has its own dedicated lighting. It fits the look of the rest of my Prusa Print Farm. I'm loving it. I want to say thank you to Prusa Research for sponsoring this video and Mandic Labs 2.0, as well as studio sponsor PCBWay and my Patreon supporters. I truly appreciate Patreon patrons and YouTube members. They help to keep the lights on around here. And to show that appreciation, there is a members only mission debrief, which is the episode after the episode where we talk about some details that might not have made it into the final video and maybe one or two other things that went wrong. So please do consider supporting to get access to that and check out a little more about my content. I hope you folks found this video interesting. If you did, I'd love to hear a story about maybe a time where you got out of your own way, where a project helped you get some better headspace going on. Let me know in the comments. Get subscribed to ensure your 3D prints don't fail. It's not a guarantee, but it can't hurt. See you, folks.